maybe one more question we'll end it on, because I was thinking about this. Him and I were talking about this a little bit, and a buddy of mine posted this question last week, and I'm still thinking about it, so I'm curious your thought, and then we could probably close up shop here. But
for sure.
Do you think that you can be in pursuit of something and present in the current moment? Can you actively be pursuing something and present in the current moment? I've put a decent bit of thought in this, and I still don't have an answer, but I'm curious. Shout out Rory for posting that one on his Instagram, because that was like, I've been thinking about that. So what are your thoughts?
I believe that you absolutely can be in pursuit of something and also in the present moment.
Okay.
And some of that has to do with goal setting, right? So we talk about like short and long-term goals, for example. Like my short-term goal might be as short as have a great time on this episode of the podcast today and not worry about what I'm doing later today or tomorrow, whatever. That's just a short-term goal that I made up off the top of my head, because the only thing that we can truly control is what's going on right now. I can't control what I'm doing later today. I can't control what happened yesterday. All I can control is what's going on in the present. But to make use the example of the podcast again, my long-term goal, for example, was to create 50 episodes in a year. So that's a pursuit of something. A future pursuit is also to monetize my business of All-Star Mindset. But I can still be in the moment of what I'm doing right now. Yeah. The other way to look at that is I believe firmly that life must constantly, I think, in order to be our most fulfilled as humans, is finding a balance between enjoyment and pleasure and happiness with what we have, as well as having a desire to improve. What I mean by that is if we have only one or the other of those two things, then we're not going to become the best version of ourselves that we can be. And I'll start with the happiness and joy of being in the moment, which is to say that that's okay if somebody is just totally content with what they have and they want nothing more. That's okay, but I would say that you're probably not going to become the best version of yourself in that case, because you are not focused in any way, shape, or form on improving yourself. If you were, for example, totally okay with what you had, financially, emotionally, physically, like total acceptance for like your physique and your diet and your lifestyle.
You're complacent.
You're kind of complacent. You're maybe happy with what you have, but you're kind of stagnant because you're not improving. Yeah. And because of the fact that we are finite, we have a finite amount of time here, I like to sort of view it as like you're kind of going backwards, because we're aging, but if you're staying the same and you're aging, you're actually kind of going backwards. But you also need to have, I think, or you also can't only be focused on improving myself and not having any sort of enjoyment or happiness or presence of the current moment. Because if all I ever care about is getting better, or my marathon time wasn't enough, or like I'm not good enough, I don't have enough money, I don't have the job, I don't have the relationship, if all you're ever focused on is the future and you never take time to appreciate what you have in the moment, you're also never going to be happy.
Yeah.
So it's like about finding an even balance of like acceptance and happiness and joy and excitement and pleasure with being in the moment, as well as a healthy balance of trying to improve myself to become the best version of myself that I can in the future. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of where my head went when you asked that. So
I loved it.
I think your original question was like, can you pursue something and also still be kind of present in the moment? Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of where my head goes when I think about that. I think that you absolutely can achieve both of those things.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
There was something you said there that made me think you're right, because if you're actively pursuing something and you go all in on it, I think it's a great strategy for sure. But is your social life being affected in a negative way? I think personally it's good to go all in, but I think having a good group of people around you, being social, is very healthy.
Yeah.
For sure, right? So that's kind of the same thing with alcohol.
Everything in moderation.
Right? And I get both sides because I've gone all in on both sides of the ball a little bit, but is it worth not having a social life and not building these connections and not having these friends, and then you're lonely, and like, what's worse for you, going out and having a couple drinks, or 5 years go by and you have no friends but you can run a marathon in 3 hours? Like, I think there's a balance there. I do believe that. I think relationships and your social and everything is very important. And I think pushing yourself to other limits is very important. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But,
yeah, for sure.
I love your answer on that question, by the way.
Yeah, it's a very uniquely answered question. Everybody's different.
For sure.
Like, I don't drink. I don't really enjoy going out and socializing. Mm-hmm. But because of that, I have fewer friends, I would say. I have less of a social life than somebody that does go out and do that.
I go pretty hard sometimes.
Right. So there's trade-offs, right? So like, that's probably not the healthiest thing, but you have more friends and more camaraderie and more, so it's like everything in moderation. As long as you're doing that and you're okay and you understand the repercussions and the, things that go along with that, like, that's fine.
I agree. I think having knowledge on what you're doing is the most important part. So like, what is alcohol doing to your brain and your body? And it's terrible. It's awful, right? Huberman's podcast on alcohol's effects on the body, like, I was in college when I listened to it, and I was like, I'm never drinking again. And then a week went by.
And then you went out that night, and you got fucking blackout.
Yeah. And I'm like, fuck. And then I wake up in the morning, and I'm aware, though, what's happening, which I think is a good...
Awareness is key.
Yeah.
For sure.
So,
all right, man. We'll leave off there. Nico, brother, appreciate you. Sounds like we could definitely do another episode in the future. We both went off on some tangents there. It could be pretty entertaining, but... For sure. Wish you the best of luck. Thanks for sharing your expertise. And we'll chat again soon, my friend.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, man.
Thank you.
See ya. Yep. Bye-bye.